All right, welcome. This is Sports Cards Live, recorded. All right, this episode is going to be me showing you my initial foray into 90s inserts baseball cards. Yeah, baseball cards. That's right. 3 cards on tap for today. So let's get into them here. I'm going to start with the first card that I purchased out of these 3. And this is a card that I wasn't looking for, didn't go out looking for it, but I saw it on an auction and I thought, that's a nice card. That's a great player. And that set has equity. That set has equity from its lineage in basketball. So I made a play at it, put in a bid at the last second, and I won. I won the auction. So I won the right to buy the card. So here it is. This is a 1999 Skybox Molten Metal Fusion Titanium. That's a mouthful, but that's because this card is an eyeful of goodness to look at. This is the Cal Ripken Jr. Fusion Titanium, numbered to 50. Only 50 copies of this card made. And what you'll notice about this card, first of all, it's in a PSA 9 holder, so it's in mint condition, as per the folks at PSA. This card is numbered to 50. And the way they did this card was with this laser etching or laser cutting, where they cut out the serial number right there, 10 of 50, right out of the card. It goes right through. You'll notice right here, you've got his portrait is also laser cut right through. So it's hard to see in this light, but trust me when I say this card is spectacular. His name, Ripken Jr., across the bottom, also cut right through the card. There's a decent look at the bottom of it. So amazing card, only 50 copies made. You're not going to find these cards anywhere. He's a Hall of Famer, respected by everybody in the hobby and in professional sports. To me, it was a no-brainer. I love the card. The titanium parallel this year is the gold, as you can see. It is a gold color and beautiful card. I love it. I'm very happy to add it to my collection and have Cal Ripken Jr. represented in my personal collection via this card. The second card is from the same set, but it's a different parallel. This is the Sterling parallel. The Sterling parallels were out of 500. This is actually foil stamped on the back versus being cut right through. And this card is Derrick Jeter. So again, you can see that his silhouette is laser etched right through. His name, Jeter, is also right through the card. It's in a PSA 8 holder, near mint to mint, still fantastic condition. You know, these cards were pulled back in the day. People didn't realize how awesome they were going to be 20 years later. And so here we go. Out of 500, again, my first Jeter 1990s insert card. Tough to say if it'll be my last as well. Something tells me I doubt that, but anyway, I'm really happy to add that. It'll go nice with the Cal Ripken Jr. and I have Derrick Jeter represented in my personal collection through the 90s inserts. The last card, and this one, there's a bit of a story to this one. It's kind of funny. It's not really funny, actually, just maybe interesting. So it's kind of how things work out in the hobby sometimes. This is a card that I had a couple copies in my eBay watch list, and I wasn't buying them at the time. I was watching them. I was deciding if I want this card, what grade, how much to pay. So I was just kind of trying to learn a little bit about the card. And one of the reasons I like this card so much is because it reminds me a lot of the 96 Flair Showcase Hot Shots cards, which were then repeated in the 2012 Fleer Retro hockey product. The reason why this card reminds me of those is simply because the die cutness of it, other than that, it doesn't look much like it, but it reminds me of it for whatever reason. And to me, it's kind of like the baseball version. So this is the 1994 Flair Hot Gloves Ken Griffey Jr. in a PSA 10 holder. And I bought this card. Now here's where the funny story comes in. I bought this card one night after I was watching another YouTube channel called The Essential Credentials, run by a fellow by the name of Matt. Matt had done a series of videos with a panel of 90s baseball insert experts and collectors, where they did a bracket system where it was like a final 32 type of thing. They had 16 cards in the East, 16 cards in the West, and they did the bracket system where they did the battles in between to get to the final card in the East and the West, and those 2 cards face off against each other, and they made their determination as to what was the best 90s baseball insert card. So volume 1 of that series was the West. And this card ended up winning the whole West. And I watched the video and I thought to myself, well, that's kind of funny, because I had identified this card myself as a card I liked one of the few 90s inserts that I had identified that I wanted. And here these guys are completely independently running this, this panel debate over which is the nicest card of the 90s. And this card won the whole West. Now, it didn't win the finals. The card that won the East beat this one out in the finals. But nonetheless, I saw that, and that was kind of the final deciding factor that made me think, okay, I'm just going to go buy it because, I'm on to something here. I love the card. I think it looks super cool. Again, it reminds me somewhat of the Hot Shots. Why? I don't know, but it does. I love the baseball glove die cut in the background. It's Ken Griffey Jr. on the Seattle Mariners. That's how I remember him. That's what I want him represented. Yeah, that's how I want him represented in my collection. So I bought the card. And there we go. These are the 3 baseball, 90s baseball inserts that are recently admitted into my personal collection. And I don't know if it's the start of many or a few more or what, but for now, these are my holdings, and really happy to have them. So anyway, I think, these 2 are certainly rare. This one's not as rare, the Griffey, but they're all nice cards. And when I display this card beside a Hot Shots card, I think they're just going to look spectacular together. And I have a couple of those cards from basketball, so that'll be cool. Anyway, there you have it. My foray into, and this is the first time on the channel, not on the channel, this is my first time on Sports Cards Live recorded that I'm showing non-hockey. And the next episode of this show will be, I believe I'm going to show my Shaquille O'Neal collection, my personal collection of 1990s Shaq cards. So, hope you liked it. That's it. Check out the video. Peace out.